Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. As Fox News echoes Donald Trump's talking points about Venezuela, Democratic guests are having a field day correcting and humiliating the Fox host, and it's happening in real time. Fox host Martha McCallum is the latest to get blasted. In front of Democrat House member Jason Crow of Colorado, McCallum repeated the false Trump claim that Venezuela is a leading source of U.S. drug deaths.
You have about 100,000 Americans dying of drug overdose, most of those drugs coming from Venezuela and other places, Colombia certainly as well.
That's actually not true.
That's not true that 100,000 Americans.
The majority of the deaths by drugs in America are the result of meth and fentanyl. Almost none of that comes from Venezuela.
So you're okay with massive amounts of cocaine traffic coming into the United States from Venezuela?
No, I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is if we want a real drug strategy, if we want to stop fentanyl and meth, which is largely what's killing our children and devastating our communities, then we need a real drug strategy to do that.
We need a real drug strategy to stop fentanyl and meth, the leading killers. And those drugs are not coming from Venezuela. Well, McCallum, who often looks bewildered when anybody actually cites basic facts in front of her, tried to pivot. She spoke about the rule of law. As Congressman Crow noted, the absurdity of taking out Maduro to stop U.S. drug deaths.
But actually going and deposing a foreign leader and capturing them and now saying we're going to run the country, as Donald Trump just said on Saturday,
he was indicted by the U.S. Justice Department. So we should just not follow through on action and indictments of our own Justice Department to bring him to justice in the United States. Otherwise, what's the point of these sorts of indictments?
That is not at all what I'm saying, right? There are thousands of people who are indicted. But just because somebody is indicted, does that mean that we go and depose a leader and actually say we're going to run a country?
And never mind running Venezuela if the issue, as McCallum insists, is following through on Justice Department action and criminal indictments. Well, there's the little problem involving the case of Juan Orlando Hernandez. The former leader of Honduras was indicted by the U.S. Justice Department, convicted by a jury, and sentenced to years in prison for trafficking over 400 tons of cocaine to the United States. A few weeks ago, Donald Trump pardoned Hernandez. Did McCallum or anybody else at Fox News bring that up or note the Trump hypocrisy? Of course not. Now, regarding Venezuela, the leading opposition figure to the Maduro regime has long been a politician and activist named Maria Corina Machado. Machado has organized protests and won an opposition primary election, prompting Maduro in 2024 to ban her from running against him. Last year, Machado received the Nobel Peace Prize. But when Donald Trump was asked if Machado should now run Venezuela, Trump said no.
Is the U.S. aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President.
Do you have any hesitations about Machado?
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela?
Trump said Machado doesn't have the respect. Experts say that's nonsense. And the Washington Post is now reporting that Machado receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, an award that Donald Trump wanted, that played a role in Trump snubbing Machado as the new Venezuelan leader. Sources told the Washington Post that although Machado in October dedicated her award to Trump, Machado's actual acceptance of the Nobel Peace Prize was an ultimate sin. Quoting a Washington Post source, if she had turned it down and said, "I cannot accept it because it's Donald Trump's," she'd be the president of Venezuela today, unquote. Is Donald Trump that vain and narcissistic that he would not elevate somebody who won something that he wanted, even if that person could bring stability and boost U.S. interests in Venezuela? Well, that's the reporting from the Washington Post. Trump will not give Machado anything since she did not hand over to him the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, a House Republican is now breaking with Trump over Machado. Here's Maria Salazar of Florida.
Let's give us a few months until we create the stability. And I'm sure that Maria Corina Machado, who is the leader of the opposition, of the Democratic opposition, will go back in, be able to put together the process so you can have free and fair elections with international observers. I'm sure she will be the nominee that Maduro did not allow her to be, the presidential nominee. I'm sure she's going to win. Okay. But, the good thing here is that the Americans are behind all of this, not the Russians or the Cubans or the Chinese.
It should be up to the Americas to decide this, not the Cubans or the Russians or the Chinese. And while that point seemed to go right over Martha McCallum's head, the issue here is crucial. The vice president, who has now taken over from Maduro, Delcy Rodriguez, she has strong ties and connections to Russia, China, and Cuba. Rodriguez was part of the Maduro regime, and she has already blasted the Trump administration for the capture of Maduro. Opposition leader Machado has warmly praised the Maduro removal and has pledged to cut ties between Venezuela, Cuba, Russia, and China. And Machado has now even offered to literally give Donald Trump her Nobel Peace Prize if that would make Trump feel better about Machado and her opposition party taking over Venezuela. But Donald Trump keeps snubbing Machado. The complexities here keep flying over the Fox News dimwits, and false claims about Venezuelan drugs killing hundreds of thousands of Americans keep echoing across the conservative media airwaves. Thankfully, there are still several lawmakers and analysts in both parties who are providing Fox News and other conservative outlets with a crash course on Venezuelan politics and realities. All of this may be frustrating to Fox News, but that's the price of ignoring basic facts. Fox News may think everything that Donald Trump gets involved in is simple. The rest of the world, including most Americans, are not as delusional. Did you know that the big wireless carriers like Verizon and AT&T made over $18 billion in profit last year? How? By overcharging you for unlimited data, most of which you probably aren't even using. But what if you could get paid to use your phone less and only pay for the data you do use? Well, with Noble Mobile, you can. For just $50 a month on their No Bull plan, you get unlimited data, and whatever data you don't use, you get cash back right in your pocket. People who switch to Noble can save an average of $500 to $1,000 a year. It's a no-brainer. And by switching to Noble, you're directly supporting TYT and our mission of bringing you honest, independent news. So give Noble a try and make the switch today. Scan the QR code on the screen now or visit go.tyt.com/plan. That's go.tyt.com/plan. By the way, Republican Congresswoman Virginia Foxx of North Carolina keeps seeing her nastiness catch up with her.
See, they say they're pro-life because they want the baby to be born, go to school, and get shot in the school. Die in the school, die on the streets. No. That is what they say.
I'm not going to say anything, but you've gone over the cliff.
I moved to strike his I'm not going words. over the cliff.
Wait, you've gone over. We were going to be quiet, but you've gone over now.
You didn't use any.
I meant every word.
We are going to strike your words. But on the other hand, it might be good to leave your words. It might be good to leave your words.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.